I'm gonna cut florets from the crown. So we call this the crown. Anyway, what's happening, team? It's Jet Tila here, and this is Ready Jet Cook, where I break down the basics of Asian cooking and show you my favorite dishes from shop to finish. Today, we're making beef and broccoli, a quintessential takeout classic that I promise you is even better when you make it at home. But before we get into this, go ahead and subscribe so you know the next time I drop a new dish. Now let me show you everything you need to get this plate of goodness together. Great beef and broccoli is a balance between protein, vegetables, and aromatics, all seared together in a wok. And I'm gonna grab the star of the show, which is beef right here. You have a lot of options in the world of beef. I like using chuck personally. So chuck comes from the shoulder area of the cow. It works a lot, which makes it really beefy. And although you think it's tough, I'm going to show you how to tenderize it using a technique called velveting. Although we're making beef and broccoli, there's no reason why you can't make chicken broccoli, pork and broccoli, even tofu and broccoli. I'm going to show you also another chef tip where I'm going to partially freeze this beef, which makes it really easy to slice and then velvet. I've got one of the stars. Let's go find the co-star, broccoli. Let's talk broccoli. The original version of this dish did not use American broccoli. It actually used Chinese broccoli. So this is Chinese broccoli, also known as gailan. So it has a nice thin center stalk, and then these shoots of leaves are definitely more delicate. Although it looks delicate, it's actually denser than American broccoli, so it has more crunch to it. Chinese broccoli eats a lot like greens. It has a sweetness to it, a nice bitterness to it. And then once you cook it, there's almost like an acidity to it, like a tannin. And all that works really wonderful with beef and broccoli. If you're making beef and broccoli with the OG broccoli, you're gonna pick the leaves off, and then you're gonna cut the actual stalk into about 2-inch sections so they cook evenly. If you can get gailan, I really encourage you to try it because it is a different experience and it's the OG delicious way to eat this dish. Since we're using broccoli crowns, I'll show you how to break them down in the kitchen. Number one point here, don't overcook your broccoli. It has a delicious crunchiness. I see broccoli so overcooked so much. We're not gonna do that together. Let's get a few more things before we check out. You can't have Chinese brown sauce without oyster sauce. In my humble opinion, this is probably the most important sauce in Chinese cooking. Now, oyster sauce doesn't have oyster flavor, don't worry. It brings a really great balance of flavor that includes salt, umami, and a little bit of sweetness. If I had to go to culinary battle with just one sauce, it would be oyster sauce. And I'm going to be using it in the sauce and in the beef marinade. Before I leave, I need some rice wine. Now, this is not rice wine vinegar. They are not related at all. Rice wine adds a really nice kind of floral aroma to any stir fry. Do not drink this casually, grown-ups, but you do want to cook with it. Comes in 2 colors, either clear or caramel. Both work great. And we usually deglaze with it to get the essence or aroma. It's very similar to like deglazing with any alcohol. Remember, we're cooking Chinese beef and broccoli, so this is Chinese rice wine. I've said it once and I'll say it again. Match your ingredients to the region you're cooking. All right, gotta go cook. So a little history lesson. Beef and broccoli's roots date back to the 1700s, and it comes from a dish called gailan chaoyo. In Cantonese anyway, which uses the original Chinese broccoli. The modern version, developed in Chinese American restaurants in the 1920s, uses American broccoli, which was obviously more readily available in markets. Okay, let's prep the beef and then we'll get into the rest of it right after. I've had my beef in the freezer for about an hour because it makes it really easy to slice. So the freezer trick is an old tip that we use, and as you can see, the beef is firmed up kind of perfectly, so when the knife goes into it, it doesn't collapse the meat. If you didn't freeze the meat, it would kind of flop around and want to just compress on you. I'm also looking to cut against the grain, so I can actually see these fibers kind of going one way. So I'm going to take the knife perpendicularly, go ahead and slice it into thin pieces. If you left it in the freezer too long, it might feel too tough to cut through, so just let it sit on your board for about 15 minutes and give it another test. This is also a really great opportunity to find the pieces where you might have fat or connective tissue. Because it's frozen, look how easy it is to kind of just trim. So you don't have to use everything. Find the bits you don't like and just get rid of it. So I'm actually looking to cut a plank. I think about it as about, 2 to 3 inches long, about 1/4 inch wide. And it's really important that all the pieces are consistent so they cook evenly. And you can also see, I've got my main cutting board, which is a big wood board. It's heavy, and I'm using a gel board or a plastic board for just the meat. I can take away the gel board, my main board's good, I can wash my hands, and we're super clean. I break up all my stir-fry dishes into this process. First, we're going to marinate the meat, then we're gonna mix the sauce, and then we're gonna stir-fry. Let's talk about velveting. It is a classic technique that gets you that super tender protein for all stir-fries. Here's the velveting secrets right here. Baking soda, cornstarch. For flavor and moisture, I use a little bit of beef stock because it's beef. If it's chicken, use chicken stock. All good. For aroma, I like a tiny bit of sesame oil. To get flavor into the meat, I'm using oyster sauce here because I'm using oyster sauce in the actual stir fry. Let me simplify the ingredients to the velvet, all right? The baking soda is actually what's tenderizing. Imagine the beef strands like jail bars. The baking soda actually goes in and softens up those bars, and that's what makes it tender. The cornstarch is taking all of the other ingredients and sucking it into the meat. Beef stock for moisture, the oyster sauce for flavor, and the sesame oil for aroma. That's it. So you can velvet anything by using baking soda, cornstarch, and then you pick your flavors. So I've massaged it down for about 30 seconds until it's all coated. And this can go away for a few minutes till the stir fry is ready, or you could actually put this in the fridge until tomorrow if you want to stir fry tomorrow. This iconic brown sauce is very simple. It starts with beef stock. Here's another tip for you. Save a little bit of that beef stock to make your slurry, because it breaks down easier in small amounts than it will in the large bowl here. So we've got the beef stock and the beef stock for the slurry. See, it makes it so much easier. Chicken powder, hoisin sauce, which is a sweeter sauce than its cousin oyster sauce. I call oyster sauce the king of stir-fry sauce because it's salt, it's umami, it's a bit of sweet. It really is like the perfect sauce all in one bottle. So this is mixed. Beef, sauce, it's time for broccoli. I'm gonna cut florets from the crown. So we call this the crown. Anyway, so take the crown and about 1 inch down from each floret, you're gonna make a cut. Now, obviously you can buy them nowadays at the store already cut into florets, but I like the stems sometimes for certain dishes. Peeled down, they make great raw salad crunches. Most of the florets on an average crown is going to be like a $50 size right there, or almost like a golf ball size. Sometimes you get these mega crowns that look like double crowns, like that one right there. I would just cut them right in half. So these for the next dish. So Chef Mike is coming here to assist with his dish. You're wondering who Mike is? It's microwave. That's who it is. So since I was a kid in restaurants, we couldn't say the word microwave. So Chef Mike was our secret code. To have Chef Mike help us steam this broccoli, 2 tablespoons of water inside the bowl, cover really tightly with plastic, and give it to Chef Mike for 2 minutes. Carefully remove the plastic, because you don't want to get those steam burns. And look at that. Bright green, crunchy, that's perfect. So wok is preheated, meat, sauce, broccoli, all the mise en place is ready. All I have to do is cut up some garlic and we're gonna go. Don't overthink your garlic. I like to just gonna give it a smash, flat, smash both cloves, and then give it one tight, maybe 1/4 inch pass. Remember, this wok is gonna be about 400 degrees, so don't over process your garlic or it's gonna burn. Okay, so let's start with a little bit of oil. And you see that white smoke? That means the wok is ready to go. So we're gonna start with protein. So what I'm trying to do basically is just cook the meat about halfway, making sure it's nice and brown. And don't be scared to use the shovel to get in there. So I've seared the outside of the beef, but it's still rare on the inside. I'm gonna add my garlic now. I love using a wok because it's carbon steel, and I can use metal utensils inside here and really scrape it down, because all these bits that kind of start to stick are gonna become delicious flavor moments inside. Because the wok was so hot, I added the beef first, but I really wanted to preheat this wok. to match that heat that we get from the restaurants. Now, broccoli is pre-cooked. Make sure to drain out as much water as possible before you throw it in because you don't want little flare-ups. Since Chef Mike took care of that slight pre-cooking, I really want the broccoli to get some heat, trade flavors with the beef before the sauce goes in. Now I'm gonna give you a little bit of a wok tossing 101 if and when you're ready to do this. So what we're basically gonna do, I'm trying to get all the ingredients in one mass, and I'm going to pull back, push forward, and create all that momentum and then flick it up. So watch, back, forward, up, back, forward, up, back, forward, up. And the secret here is when I'm flipping, I'm using the shovel to help me flip. So back, forward, up, there's your flip. So if you see all these bits stuck to the pan, I want to capture all that deliciousness. The French would call that fond. That it really is just gonna be extra flavor. So a little bit of rice wine around the pan to grab all those bits, and you can see them start to bubble up. Check that out. And while the rice wine is deglazing, I'm scraping all of the flavors back into the dish to help build that sauce. We've prepared that luscious, lovely brown sauce. Remember, there's cornstarch in here, and because cornstarch is heavy, it tends to settle. So let's give it a good scrape before we add it around the pan. Cornstarch gelatinizes at about 180 degrees. So you'll start to see the sauce in places start to boil, and that boiling means it's gonna start to thicken. So once it starts to thicken, continue to stir and scrape. And here I'm gonna turn the heat down. I personally love a little bit of heat here, so I'm gonna add some chili flakes. If you hate the spice, or if you're serving the kids or whomever hates heat, just leave it out. But I love just a little kick of spice into this. Look at that, look how perfect that looks. All right, so your final checks on this dish are, is the sauce at a good texture? Yes, the beef is cooked, broccoli is cooked. Let's get our rice and plate. That's it. My favorite way to eat this dish is with a nice bowl of hot jasmine rice. Everything is in here. You got your proteins and your vegetables. All stir fries are best hot right out of the wok. Your beef and your broccoli, all in that perfect bite right there. Oh. Saucy, savory, crunchy, that deep umami of that brown sauce and the bright acidity of that rice wine and broccoli. And you can't beat this velveted beef. It really is the star of the show. There's a good reason why this dish has been kicking around the globe for centuries. I guarantee this simple recipe is going to make you a kitchen hero. So try it at home and make sure to leave a comment telling me how it turned out. And don't forget to subscribe so I can see you back here soon for another episode of Ready, Jet, Cook.